the finalists in the women's vault competition at the Varna World Challenge Cup. Top in qualification with no real surprise whatsoever, Valentina Georgieva. The Bulgarian will be the last to go, and she has, we anticipate, the highest degree of difficulty of all of the gymnasts. The second best in the preliminary stage was Zelina Kickinger of Austria. She'll be the anti-penultimate competitor. British coaches watching on with two of theirs to go, Ruby Stacey and Emily Roper. We'll begin with the veteran vaulter Tijana Korent of Croatia, who recently celebrated her 36th birthday. Good field for this final. It will be interesting to watch. And certainly, there is a real chance for folk who are not accustomed to being on World Challenge Cup podia. So here we go, the women's vault final. These are the contenders. Best of luck to them all as they embark upon the quest for a place on the podium at the Varna World Challenge Cup. Let's hand over to our in-arena Master of Ceremonies for the official introductions.
Representing Bulgaria, Valentina Georgieva.
Warm applause, particularly for Valentina Georgieva, top performer in qualification. We have representation here from Croatia, from Czechia, from the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, from Iceland, from Austria, from Luxembourg and from Bulgaria. This is the only all-European final of the day. It is in the month of the next edition of the contest, our own Gymnastics Eurovision Song Contest final coming up. Feels appropriate to mention the Eurovision Song Contest whenever you've got representation from Luxembourg, the 5 times winners. And we have Celeste Mordenti, who has been a medalist in World Cup competition. That was in Sombate of last year on the uneven bars. So let's look at how this might unfold. Tijana Korent will start. She was the 5th best in qualifying, but absolutely a contender. Would be no shock whatsoever if she makes it onto the podium. Dominika Ponižilova of Czechia will be the next to go, the 4th best in the preliminary stage. And she is a World University Games medalist on vault, so again, be no surprise to see her contend. Then Ruby Stacey of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Now, her campaign will be a little different from most of the gymnasts because she is expected to be the gymnast with the greatest difference in difficulty between vaults number 1 and 2. She produced a Yurchenko 1.5 for a 4.6 degree of difficulty for her first vault in qualifying, and the second vault is expected to be a handspring front tuck, a 3.6. So a lot for Ruby Stacey will depend on the clarity of vault number 1, because it may well be that there is the starkest contrast in scores between her 2 vaults of any of the gymnasts performing. Emily Roper was the 8th best in qualifying. She will go 4th. And again, she's somebody who it would be no surprise to see challenge. It's about whether she can get the clarity of her second vault, the tucked full twisting Tsukahara a little higher, a little stronger, because then she could push up into the 13s and contend. So that's the first half of the final. The top two qualifiers will come in the second half, but I think it's worth bearing in mind that the second best qualifier, Zelina Kickinger, 13.25 average, and the sixth best qualifier, Lilja Gunnarsdottir of Iceland, 13. So only a quarter of a mark between second and sixth. That means there's room for manoeuvre. We're talking about a footstep here, a stuck landing there, and it all changes. But no question that the last gymnast to go, Georgieva, difficulty-wise, has the potential to be head and shoulders above the rest. So that is the hypothetical lay of the land. Let's see the reality.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the women's vault final. Tiana Corrent, 36-year-old, will get us started. And she starts with a nice-looking handspring front pike with a half twist. Now, that was a 12.75 in qualification. As I mentioned earlier, she was the fifth best. But she has absolutely the potential to move up the leaderboard. Did have a notable lack of stability on the landing. But in terms of the flight, there was a lot of cleanliness to that display. She won the title here in Varna 2 years ago. "18 times she's been a national champion. Isn't that remarkable? She's also an elite level judge. Judged at competitions like the European Youth Olympic Festival. Very rare to see somebody manage to compete internationally at the elite level and judge internationally at the elite level. It shows how much she knows and the great love for the sport that she possesses. Rest of them watching and waiting to see what this number will be. Well, that's useful. Adam Asil, who now competes for Uzbekistan, apparently scored 0. 12.866. It is better than qualification. And that is her full twisting Yurchenko vault. Now, Tiana Corrent may have pushed herself up the leaderboard. Could be a better score than qualification. Sometimes she doesn't have the most secure looking start to the vault. A little sense of wildness about the approach, but that had a very precise quality to it for the most part. That was the better vault in qualification, 12.95. She did also pick up the 2/10 bonus for having the twisting or the flipping in different directions. Certainly a good marker laid down there by the veteran Corrent, and she looks pretty pleased with the score. hugely respected gymnast, Tiana Corinth. First international title in World Cup competition was in 2010. I've mentioned many times that she has a wonderful social conscience. She's very committed to animal welfare. She gets up at 6:30 every morning to foster or to feed the animals that she fosters. 13.299, a 13.333 for that full twisting Yurchenko. I thought that was a lot better than qualifying, and better than we've seen it this season. So she's completely in the race now. Dominika Ponižilova of Czechia, 4th best in the preliminary stage. The World University Games bronze medalist on vault last year. Not last year, the year before last in Chengdu. That was her first ever international medal. So, that is a good beginning. That is a very good beginning from Dominika Ponižilova. Now that we anticipate to be the highest difficulty of her 2 vaults. The laid out full twisting Tsukahara. Only a minute landing adjustment. Competed at her 6th European Championships last year. Part of the team that made the final in 2020. We haven't seen her in a non-virtual competition since the National Championships of last year, where she won the vault title. Second vault is due to be a handspring front tuck with a half twist.
Representing Czech Republic, Dominika Ponižilova, 2nd vault.
We don't have the score, I'm afraid, for the first vault for Ponižilova. But we do have a sense that she might contend for a place on the podium. Now the question is how close she can get to Corinth, because her score in qualifying was 13.15. Corinth was below that, but we've just seen Corinth move up from her own qualification display by 1/4 of a mark. Indeed, it was the handspring front tuck with the half twist, the vault number 2. So apologies once again for the lack of the first vault score there. We'll try to bring that to you just as soon as we can. .299 from Tiana Corinth. That's what Ponižilova is looking to beat. .23 now, Ponižilova. She's been competing internationally for quite some time. All-around finalist at the European Games in 2019. 13.216. 13.333 was the score for the first vault. Just wasn't quite enough to go beyond
Ladies and
Corinth.
gentlemen, representing Great Britain, Ruby Stacey.
Now to Ruby Stacey. This is where we expect there to be a very difficult first vault. And indeed, the 1.5 twisting Yurchenko, that's the most difficult vault that we've seen so far. And it was performed very well. Did step out of bounds. 10th to be removed from her score for that. Also happened in qualification. She was the 3rd best qualifier. She's got a very slight sideways lilt going on as she approaches the table. I'm sure you can see there the contact point was already heading a bit in that direction, but it was a very nicely performed vault. She's had a good spell lately, just recently won the bars title at the English Championships and the all-around silver medal and the bronze on floor. The gymnast from Tavistock in beautiful West Devon. He was a reserve for the British team at the last Olympic Games.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Great Britain, Ruby Stacey. 2nd vault.
Well, again, we don't have the score, I'm afraid, for the first vault. And that was nice and secure. Handspring front tuck. So similar to what we just saw from Dominika Ponizhilova, just doesn't have that half twist of the body, meaning that Stacey lands facing away from the vaulting table rather than moving the body back round to face towards it, but very clean. Very symmetrical, tiny landing adjustment. Should score well. She's just been named in the British European Championship squad. Now, Ruby Stacey certainly seems pleased with the number that she's got. Hopefully we'll find out what it is at some point. First vault in qualifying was 13.45. Second vault was 12.5 in qualification. Moment now, I'm sure we're going to see a score. And that is why she's so pleased. 13.333. Ruby Stacey into the gold medal position. Jumps up by close to 2/10 from qualification. Emily Roper of Great Britain, 8th best in qualifying. The 19-year-old from Ipswich. Starts with a well-performed full twisting Yurchenko vault. So that, as I'm sure many of you know, 4/10 down in the difficulty from Ruby Stacey because it doesn't have that extra half twist. vault champion at the Northern European Championships of last year, representing Wales. And then the year before that, or 2 years before that, she was the silver medalist, representing England. So again, I'm afraid we can't bring you that first vault score. But we'll wrap it all up once the second vault has been performed. We anticipate the second vault will be a tucked full twisting Tsukahara, 3.8 difficulty score. She's still very new to World Cup competition, Emily Roper. Competed in Cottbus at the start of the year.
Representing Great Britain, Emily Kate Roper, second vault.
She's had to wait quite a long time to perform this second vault. But worth waiting for. Indeed, the tucked full twisting Tsukahara. One of the Kim family of skills. So she scored 12.8 as the overall qualification score. It may well be that there is an advancement in terms of that second vault. Looked very nice in the air. Crisp, clean form. Still waiting to go in the second half, Valentina Georgieva. She'll be the last to perform. Warm-ups well and truly in progress now for the second half. That's Zelina Kickinger, the second best in qualification. But everything really has been changed by these first three performers. So far, we've seen every gymnast improve upon their qualification display, and that's made for a really compelling women's vault final. Great to have representation from Iceland as well in this final. .083 improvement on both vaults from qualification, particularly a gain of almost 4/10 for the full twisting Yurchenko. So really well done there, Emily Roper. And that means that of the first four gymnasts, every single one of them has surpassed their qualification performance. That's exactly what you want in a final. And it means there's a very real prospect that we've seen at least one medalist already. So in the second half, we've got the young gymnast from Iceland, Lilja Gunnarsdóttir, to perform first. She was the 6th best qualifier, and she has just recently won the national title on vault. We'll then see Zelina Kickinger, 2nd best in qualifying. Definitely a contender based on the clarity of her work in the preliminary round. Celeste Mordenti of Luxembourg will be the penultimate gymnast to go. She was the 7th best in qualifying, but if her full twisting Yurchenko is more securely executed than in the preliminary stage, she too could be a medalist. And then we finish with Valentina Georgieva, and if she hits her double twisting Yurchenko, then it could almost sign, seal and deliver the gold medal to her. She did have a few issues with it in qualification, 3/10 of penalty mark. She also had a single tenth taken away for the second vault, so 4/10 of penalties for going outside of the tram lines in the preliminary round. If she removes those, then she's well and truly ahead of the rest of the pack. Again, all hypotheticals, and of course it's about what really happens now as we go into the second half of the final. Lilja Gunnarsdóttir of Iceland, 6th best in qualification. Congratulations to this young gymnast who recently became the champion of her country on vault. She also won the all-around title at the Iceland Classic at the start of the year. Little sideways hop on the full twisting Yurchenko, but a very nice performance. First time that she's ever participated in a World Cup event. How well she's done to make this final. Lots of potential. It's been really exciting to see some of the development in Icelandic gymnastics over the last couple of years. There are a lot of great gymnasts in Iceland. Many of them go into team gym, which is not hugely well known on the global scene. It's very well known in Europe, and Iceland is one of the best nations in the whole of Europe at team gym. They are perennial medalists. So there is a strong gymnastics culture in the country. Beautiful part of the world as well. You must find a way to get to Iceland at some point in your life if you can. You won't regret it. It's exquisite. Even if you don't manage to see the Northern Lights, there's so much to see there. Oh, that's unfortunate. Just has an awkward bounce coming out of that handspring front tuck. Oh dear. That looked a really painful landing for Lilja Gunnarsdóttir. Oh, you can see it straight away. She's obviously feeling that. Oh, it's the knee, isn't it? It really hits hard on that right knee. Almost a little locked looking. Well, I can tell you that treatment now is taking place for Lilja Gunnarsdóttir, and obviously we're not going to show you that because it's a moment that the athlete and coach and medical staff need to have as something private. And we hope that all is well. It was really not pleasant looking landing. Just remind ourselves, this is a very young gymnast. She's only 16, Gunnarsdóttir. First ever World Cup final. What we hope is that it was just an unpleasant landing and one that caused a bit of initial pain, but there's nothing more than that. That's what the medical team will now assess.
Representing
Well done
Austria,
to
Selina Kickinger.
the medical staff on quick assessment there. 12.349 is the score. Great young gymnast. It's going to be exciting seeing how she develops. To Selina Kickinger of Austria, second best in qualification. Yes, that was very good. Was actually indicating on the board 1.5 twisting Yurchenko vault, but opted to do as she did in qualification. Well performed. Did wonder if we were going to see a extra half twist to what is commonly a full twisting Yurchenko, just because of the indication given on the vault scoreboard that it was a 4.33 vault. And that is, as I'm sure many of you know, taken from the code of points. Every vault is assigned a number. If you are a certain type of gymnastics fan, you like to try to learn those numbers. It's great fun playing a vault identification bingo from the code of points. Handspring front pike half is the indicated second vault. Got a contending display here, potentially from Selina Kickinger. So that was indeed the handspring front pike with a half twist. Little delayed loss of stabilisation on the landing. 13.25 in qualification for Kickinger. Gets quite a good amount of travel. She moves a fair distance away from the table. A 23-year-old gymnast from Innsbruck who was a finalist in the all-around competition at the last European Championships. Very proud moment for her. She won her first World Cup honours at the Osijek World Cup earlier this year. Bronze on floor. She also made the vault final, so we're getting much more used to seeing her in these sorts of competitions. 2 still to go. The experienced young gymnast from Luxembourg, Celeste Mordenti, will be next. Leading the way, as things stand, it's Ruby Stacey of Great Britain, 13.333. Then we have Tiana Corrent, and that's a 13.2 for Selina Kickinger, and that means that she drops in just behind Dominika Ponizilova on 13.216 into 4th place.
Representing Luxembourg, Celeste Mordenti.
Now to Celeste Mordenti of Luxembourg, who has been the gold medalist on vault at the Dutch Championships. That was last year. She trains in Amsterdam, attends university study there. She begins well, quite a hop back on the full twisting Yurchenko landing. This is a gymnast who I don't think enough can be said about in terms of how much she has developed over the last 4 or 5 years. It's remarkable, absolutely remarkable. She hasn't just got better, she has transformed. It's no surprise when you consider how much she loves the sport and how hard she works at it and how determined she is. But nonetheless, sometimes that doesn't translate to actually being able to make the improvements you want to make. For her, it has done. She got real amplitude as well in her full twisting Yurchenko. She recently defended her all-around title at the Luxembourg Open.
Representing Luxembourg, Celeste Mordenti, second vault.
Now, handspring front pike is what we anticipate here. So, almost identical to the second vault from Kickinger, but without the half twist of the body at the end. And she does hop out of bounds with both feet. However, it was very good in the air once more from the 22-year-old. So we look again at Celeste Mordenti. Nice pike position, quite tight in terms of how she gets the legs into the body. That's really important in the pike. Just a little sideways as she lands, lilting to the left, hence hopping out of bounds. But that's a very good display from Mordenti. 12.975 in qualification. It's a 13.216 that currently holds bronze. I said earlier, you have to admire just how she has developed as a gymnast. Very exciting to see. How special when she won that medal in Sombate last year. 13.033, so no change to the podium, but we anticipate it might happen now. The last gymnast to go is Bulgaria's own Valentina Georgieva. 13.55 in qualification, the best score, and that would take her into gold and guarantee her the title. Here's the signature vault. Oh dear, oh dear. I mean, she really is becoming so accomplished. And she picked up 3/10 of penalty marks in qualification. No such issue there. She is becoming so dependable on this apparatus. Good straight body position as she twists around. .65 in qualification. One anticipates that it will be a far stronger number on this occasion.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Bulgaria, Valentina Georgieva. Second vault.
Vault number 2 coming up. This we also anticipate to be a very high degree of difficulty. Indication is the layout Tsukahara with 1.5 twists. Oh! Oh, goodness. Just hope that she's all right. It looked ever so strong in the warm-up process. Well, first and foremost, one just wishes that there are no lingering issues here for Valentina Georgieva. She was quite some way away from completing the landing. Quite wisely just waiting where she is to receive treatment. To remember that big competitions are coming up. The European Championships are at the end of this month. So the gymnasts here particularly will be wanting to leave nothing to chance. If they do suspect there's any form of injury, they'll not wish to compete and risk things further. That's why we had a withdrawal from the men's floor final. There is concern here for young Valentina Georgieva, who had a really uncomfortable landing. I'm sure many of you remember all too vividly the European Championships of 2022, where she had just the most dreadful injury. And that was on the first vault, the double twisting Yurchenko. So we'll resume the competition and the coverage just as soon as Valentina Georgieva has been attended to. And, just to return it to matters of competition, Ruby Stacey is currently the leading gymnast. Well, there we have confirmation, 13.299 for Georgieva. So that is still one of the top scores, even considering the fact that she loses a full mark for the issue with the second vault because of the enormous difficulty. But it is Ruby Stacey who has managed to take the title, the British gymnast, winning her first gold medal in World Cup competition. We'll bring you the classified results in just a moment. The ceremony will be along shortly, and after that we'll resume our coverage with the men's pommel horse competition. Well, it is very encouraging to see her in that condition, that she is walking without assistance away from the competition floor. Time was taken to really make sure that she was able to do that. And that's something that's been really pleasing to see this season in gymnastics. We're getting fewer examples of gymnasts being lifted and carried off the field of play by a coach, which frankly shouldn't happen. Now medical staff are attending to them, they're staying in position for longer, and I think these protocols are the right thing, because a gymnast should never be moved. No athlete should ever be moved or should ever move before there's been the chance for an assessment to be performed. That's the opening vault from Georgieva, the double twisting Yurchenko, the most difficult vault of the competition. And the second most difficult vault of the competition was her second vault. So that's evidence of just how it was she accumulated such a high score despite taking a full mark of deduction for not securing the landing. And what a performance from Ruby Stacey. Great result for the British gymnast. The classified results in the women's vault competition, and the gold medal won by Ruby Stacey of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, with Valentina Georgieva of Bulgaria finishing second and taking silver, and Croatia's Tiana Korint winning the bronze medal. The same score for those two gymnasts, 13.299, but Georgieva winning the tie-break criteria. It's time for the victory ceremony in the women's vault competition at the Varna World Challenge Cup.
Third place, the bronze medal, representing Croatia,
Tiana Korint of Croatia, the winner of the bronze medal, the 36-year-old, once again on a World Cup podium.
representing Bulgaria,
Valentina Georgieva of Bulgaria managing to take the silver medal despite issues with her second vault. We hope that she's okay. And huge congratulations to Great Britain's Ruby Stacey, the 20-year-old, taking her first ever World Cup gold medal. She improved significantly from qualification. This for a gymnast who's in really good spirits at the moment and really good form. She's just been named to the European Championship squad for her country, and she has just won the uneven bars title at the National Championships of England. How joyous it is to see that reaction from Tiana Korint, a gymnast who won her first World Cup honours 15 years ago. The embodiment of longevity. You can only imagine how someone like Ruby Stacey feels when she looks at a gymnast like Tiana Korint and the example that she sets to all of us. And we'll now have the national anthem of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
National anthem of Great Britain. Huge applause for the champions and march out.
And there they are, the medalists at the women's vault competition at the Varna World Challenge Cup of Artistic Gymnastics. The finalists in the women's uneven bars competition, and the top performer in qualification, the USA's Nolan Matthews, with a score of 13.3. But just behind her, Emily Roper of Great Britain, 13.2. Let's have a look at the finalists.
Great Britain, Emily Kate Rupert. Representing Great Britain, Ruby Stacy. Representing Austria, Selina Kickinger. Representing Norway, Emily Deline. Representing Luxembourg, Celeste Morganti. Representing USA, Nola Matthew. Representing Bulgaria, Nicole Stoimenova.
She's spoken of how excited she is to compete in front of her home fans. Nicole Stoimenova of Bulgaria, who'll be the last to go in this women's uneven bars final. Now, the lay of the land here is very interesting because two gymnasts were well above the rest of the pack in qualifying. One of them, Nola Matthews of the USA, will be the second to last to go. She scored 13.3. Then Emily Roper scored 13.2. She'll be the second to go. After that, we dropped down by about 3/4 of a mark to the third best qualifier, and that's Celeste Mordenti of Luxembourg, 12.55. Then, frankly, it's anybody's guess because there's quite a lot of compression between those gymnasts in the chasing pack and the sorts of scores that we saw in qualifying. If either Matthews or Roper has a significant drop in their score compared to the preliminary round, then we're going to be thrown into complete uncertainty as to the destination of the medals. So this should be very interesting indeed. Once we've got the apparatus sorted. Well, just as soon as the bars are being prepared for competition, we will get the final started. Still to come after this, we have got the final in the men's rings competition. That will be the last event to bring you in our coverage today. And then tomorrow, the women will take to the beam and the floor, and the men will perform on vault, parallel bars and horizontal bar, as is the traditional order of these FIG World Cup events. This is the start of the World Challenge Cup series. We've already had the 6 World Cup events in Cottbus, Baku, Antalya, Osijek, Doha and Cairo. But this begins an exciting sequence of World Challenge Cup events. Koper is the next one, taking place in Slovenia. Then it will be Tashkent, that's in June. 18th to the 21st of June. Koper is the 15th to the 18th of May. And then closer to the World Championships, we have the ever-popular Paris World Challenge Cup. One of the most flamboyant and exciting in terms of the arena presentation. And Szombathely in Hungary, which is the traditional final World Challenge Cup event. We can get these warm-ups underway. The first gymnast to perform in the women's uneven bars final will be Ceren Binesh of Turkey, 4th best in qualification. Then we'll have Emily Roper, who, as I mentioned earlier, was the 2nd best. Ruby Stacey, 6th best. And we've got to watch out for Stacey carefully, because her execution score in qualifying was 6.8, her difficulty 5.3. So if Stacey can deliver a more secure performance, she goes from being 6th place to a contender to win the whole thing. Zelina Kickinger will be the last to go in the first half of the final. We also must consider very strongly Celeste Mordenti. She qualified for the final with the second lowest execution score. My maths were failing me there. But a high difficulty. She actually had the highest difficulty of anyone, the gymnast from Luxembourg. Lots to think about then as we go into this uneven bars final. And it's a young final. All of the gymnasts competing, born well after the turn of the millennium. The oldest is Zelina Kickinger at 23. Hope you're enjoying all of the action so far. Thank you for your company at the Varna World Challenge Cup in Bulgaria. The largest city on the Bulgarian Black Sea coast. Amazing history of about 3 millennia. And it's right in the east of the country. The name Varna is likely to have origins in the idea of a fortified place or a defended place, because the word Varn means shield or defence. That's one of the possibilities. Could also be that it takes its roots in the Proto-Slavic Varn or black, possibly even for the Iranian for camp or fortress. There's lots of interesting possibilities for how it is that we arrived at the name Varna. But its name was already well and truly established by the late 10th century, so that gives you an idea of the history of the place. And the Varna culture itself, very ancient culture, goes back to about 4,500 BCE, and that's where we have acquired the extraordinary collection of gold artifacts, the oldest in the world, from around that sort of time. They were found in the Varna necropolis, and they're actually still on display in the archaeological museum of the city. It was one of those fascinating things where it was just accidentally found in 1972. Amazing the things that one stumbles across. To this women's uneven bars final.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Turkey, Ceren Güneş.
We begin with Ceren Güneş of Turkey, 20-year-old who was fourth best in qualification with 12.45. Maloney transition to begin into a pack salto. Van Leeuwen, a little shy of the handstand position. Now she'll go into the straddle Jaeger somersault, build the swingfulness back up with good effort, keeping the heels together nicely and dismounting securely. Not a hugely complicated dismount, but well performed. Her difficulty score was the second lowest of all of the qualifiers. She has been the national champion on the apparatus. Lovely to see her back. Last time we got the chance to enjoy her work internationally was when she won a bronze medal on vault at the Mersin World Challenge Cup in 2023. But I'm sure many of you remember she has actually been a European Championship finalist. That was on vault in her home championships in 2023, where she was 6th. Amazingly, it was her first ever senior international final. Really attacked the straddle position in the Jaeger somersault. Handstands were certainly an issue in terms of the extent to which she fully hit that position, rather than being a little diagonal. The lack of complexity of the dismount is a bit of an issue. But nonetheless, the score is 12.633, and that is an improvement of almost 2/10 from qualification. Could well be a medal contender with that performance.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Great Britain, Roper.
Emily Roper of Great Britain, second best in qualification. This was a very good performance from the gymnast who is the national champion on the uneven bars. She also uses the Maloney and the pack salto, and regrettably comes off the apparatus. Nice start as well. Might have been a bit of a painful jolt as she went down to ground. And she does use the Van Leeuwen exactly as Ceren Güneş did. Sets herself up for a good straddle Jaeger somersault. Keeps the swing going nicely too. And a much more complicated dismount, very good dismount as well. Lots of nice gymnastics in that display from Emily Roper. A gymnast that we anticipate seeing a lot more of on the international stage. Great accomplishment winning the uneven bars title at the British Championships, where she also was the all-around bronze medalist. Part of the next generation coming through in the British team. .1. So it is for Roper a drop of just over a full mark from the preliminary round. Waiting to get started is Ruby Stacey, who already has won a World Cup gold medal today, the champion on vault. And as I mentioned earlier, there's no doubt that she has contending capacity, even though she was the 6th best qualifier. We've just had the British champion on the uneven bar. She's the English champion. Ruby Stacey of Great Britain, 6th best in qualifying with 12.1, but a 5.3 difficulty and a 6.8 for execution. So plenty of potential to move up the standings. She first won a medal on this apparatus in World Cup competition in Slovenia in 2022. Ruby Stacey, who's already been a champion today on vault, taking to the bars. Kachev mixed grip to Ezheva, lovely. And then the Stolda Shaposhnikova to the Pak Salto. Uses the Van Leuven, and Maloney with the half twist of the body. And that's a very good dismount, well performed from Ruby Stacey of Great Britain. The gymnast who is becoming a more and more high-profile member of the British team for obvious reasons. Goes really nicely up into handstand at the start. Big attack of the Kachev into the Ezheva. Very good opening. Stolda Shaposhnikova, one of the less common of the Shaposhnikova variations. We tend not to see it as much as the varieties where the gymnast has their toes on the low bar. We certainly see, probably even less frequently, the original Shaposhnikova with the hips in line with the bar. And she really did land that well. 12.1 in qualification. .033 in the final, a big jump up for Ruby Stacey. She gains almost a full mark. Well, I did say that there was no doubt she was a contender if the execution could be stronger because of that high degree of difficulty, and we've seen it. She's in the gold medal position after the first three.
Representing Austria, Selina Kickinger.
Austria's Selina Kickinger. the 5th best gymnast in the qualification phase. Maloney from her. Back salto with perhaps a slight loss of form. Leuven up quite nicely into the handstand position, moving into the Jaeger straddle position. And she dismounts with authority. 12.4 in the preliminary round. Difficulty score we would expect to come in a fair way away from the likes of Stacey. So it will all really come down to how the judges perceive this to be performed in terms of its quality of execution. Just looked very sure of herself from start to finish, didn't she? But she has looked sure of herself for a long time, and she should look sure of herself because she's made such a great development. She's become a top 20 gymnast in European all-around competition. She's overcome a lot of injuries in her career, but has spoken about how she feels so much fitter and stronger than she used to feel. She's a very good swimmer as well, Zelina Kickinger, and it's well known how great that can be for overall fitness and conditioning. 12.433 is virtually the same as qualification. Nice consistent work from the Austrian. Warm-ups for the second half in progress. Nolan Matthews of the USA, top qualifier, will be the penultimate performer. So we have in the second half the young gymnast from Norway, Amalie Dahlene, who was the 7th best in the preliminary stage. Then Celeste Mordenti, who was the top, the 3rd top in qualification. Then Matthews, who was the top qualifier. And Nicole Stoimenova of Bulgaria, who was the 8th best in preliminary competition. And it's going to be exciting to see what Matthews can produce. She was the Pan American champion on the uneven bars in Colombia in 2023. Just saw the representation there of the Luxembourg delegation, coaching staff along with Celeste Mordenti. Luxembourg has just recently very successfully hosted the European Championships of Acrobatic Gymnastics. Very pretty part of the world, Luxembourg. The capital city itself is uniquely situated across 2 different levels. It's very striking. Congratulations to Amalie Dahlene of Norway. First time competing in a World Cup final. The 19-year-old is from the beautiful city of Oslo, and she has been very recently the national champion on vault. That was last year. She has also been the uneven bars champion back in 2023. Nearly. That was unfortunate. That can happen. And I think we must remind ourselves what a big moment it is for any gymnast when they make it into a World Cup final for the first time. Oh, that was a lovely Jaeger somersault. She's got a bit of power, hasn't she? Swings with authority. Really nice to watch. Unfortunate that she had an issue in that transition from low to high at the start of the routine, but well done to her for coming back onto the apparatus and attacking with such conviction that lovely straddle Jaeger. She sets up beautifully for it as well. The position going into it is very assured. The bail as well was performed nicely. To a very good vertical position. She's steady as a rock in that landing. Right that she enjoys this moment, celebrates this moment, qualification for a World Cup final. Hopefully we'll see more of it. Very much in the early stages of her senior career. She won a silver medal at the Bulgarian Cup a couple of months ago. Definite medal contender coming up here. Still leading, it's Ruby Stacey, 13.033. 10.733 for Amalia Dalinet. That is a drop of about a mark and a quarter from the qualifying round.
Celeste Mordenti.
Celeste Mordenti, bronze medalist on this apparatus at the Szombathely World Challenge Cup in Hungary last year. She was the third best in qualification for this final. Straight into the straddle Jaeger, and that was good. Pack Salto, that had a nice sense of style to it. Maloney maybe lost the form a little bit, and then she performs the Ginger. First Ginger somersault we've seen in this final. And that's a great dismount. Oh, well done, Celeste Mordenti. I tell you what, the development is incredible. She just gets better and better. It's a very early release move. She's straight into the Jaeger and performed it very well. Pack Salto is very nicely delivered. She maybe loses a touch of the form in the Maloney, but quickly builds up the swing into the Ginger. But really the high point of the whole performance was the conclusion. Double layout. Excellent. Breaking into a massive smile the second she comes into contact with the ground, because she knew. I mean, it was just crystal clear. That was brilliant. 13. Well, I never. Well, I never. Just behind Stacey, she's in the silver medal position with 2 to go.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing USA, Nola Matthews.
Now to the top qualifier, the USA's Nola Matthews. 13.3 in the preliminary round. That would put her into the gold medal position. She's been a Pan American champion on this apparatus. A Jaeger somersault. Tidy. Forms the Van Loven well. There's a lot going on in this routine. How's the conclusion? Big sense of swingfulness, and her double layout very assured. The young gymnast from California, new to World Cup competition. She's competed at the DTB Pokal in Stuttgart for the last 4 years in a row with great success there. Proud acquisition of UCLA in the world of collegiate gymnastics. This is an absolute cracker of a conclusion. Very powerful. .3 was the qualification score. She needs in excess of 13.033 to go into the gold medal position. And she has done exactly as she did in qualifying. The only difference is that the execution is up by a 10th, the difficulty is down by a 10th, but she's in the gold medal position. Stacey second, Mordenti third. Nicole Stoimenova of Bulgaria, 8th best in qualifying with a score of 12 exactly. The gymnast who was a representative of the British developmental scene. She does train in Aylesbury in Buckinghamshire. Performing well here. Gets back into a good handstand position, had to adjust the feet a little. And she performs a different variation of the Jaeger somersault. Not opting for the straddle. And she dismounts very well. Lovely to see that from 17-year-old Nicole Stoimenova. Born in Blagoevgrad. Gymnast who competed at the European Championships last year. She also competed at the English and Welsh Championships this year. She has a bit of leg separation here and there, not quite fully into handstand perhaps. Again, an example of it there. But this was performed with an ever-increasing confidence. She's a gymnast whose trajectory is positive. And she really went for the dismount. Minimal adjustment coming out of the tuck position. Lots to enjoy about that from Stoimenova. Spent a lot of her time at Links Gymnastics in Aylesbury. 11.866, virtually the same as qualification. Down by just over a tenth, that's all. The classified results in the women's uneven bars competition. Bronze to Luxembourg's Celeste Mordenti, silver to Ruby Stacey of Great Britain, and the gold medal won by the USA's Nola Matthews.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite with huge applause champions on the even bar.
The award ceremony for the women's uneven bars competition.
Third place, the bronze medal, representing Luxembourg, Celeste Mordenti.
She's done it again for the second time in her career. Bronze medalist in a World Cup competition. Celeste Mordenti of Luxembourg doing so well. On the subject of doing so well, what a day for Ruby Stacey of Great Britain. A gold medal on vault, a silver medal on the uneven bars.
First place and gold medal, representing USA, Nola Matthews.
Welcome Nola Matthews to World Cup competition, an occasion marked with a gold medal. The young gymnast from San Jose in California with a very strong performance, winning by a few tenths.
And first place awards, President of Bulgaria Federation of Resistant Gymnastics, Vice Olympic Champion, Vladimir Dunev.
Първо място награждава президента на Българската федерация гимнастика Красимир Дунев.
And we will now have the national anthem of the United States of America.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please rise up for the national anthem of USA. Ladies and gentlemen, please march out.
And there they are, the medalists in the women's uneven bars competition. Worth taking the time to preserve the moment and immortalise it in photographic form.